So for the record, we were talking about AI before it was cool. But the funny thing is, we didn't really call it AI. See, for most of my career, AI was the future. Machine learning was the present, and algorithms were the past. And once an AI became a thing, we didn't call it that. We gave it a name. We called it something like Waze, or Spotify Discover Weekly, or a smart gadget. And then one day, in September of 2022, or November of 2022, rather, ChatGPT became the fastest product in history to reach 1 million users. And suddenly, the world was ready for AI. And November 2022, not that long ago, it's actually the last time we held a DOLAH event. And a lot's happened since then. And at that point in time, about 15% of the S&P 500 companies were mentioning the phrase AI in their earnings calls. Then ChatGPT comes on the scene, everyone starts talking about AI, and then what happens? Suddenly, a third of the companies are AI companies overnight. I think this is kind of hilarious because some of these companies were already doing AI things and just not talking about it. But a lot of others really scrambled to figure out how should we be fitting AI into our narrative, right? You had CEOs across the world saying, how should we integrate AI into what we do? And I think this chart is kind of absurd. But it actually was wildly successful because these companies that mentioned AI in these earnings calls significantly outperformed those that did not during those quarters. And like I said, like most of these companies, a lot of them weren't building an AI product, right? It wasn't as if they suddenly decided we need to start building our own AI solutions. And that would make it, if that was true, that would make it an engineering problem. But instead, all these companies were looking around and saying, what's the story of AI? How are we incorporating AI? What's the narrative? When we talk about story and narrative for your company, that makes it a marketing problem. And so if you're sitting here today, if you're joining by live stream, shout out to our live stream and Bruna and everyone joining from across the world, you've probably felt this pressure. Whether it's from your CEO or if it's from your boss, or your clients, your customers, or maybe even Wall Street. Every non-marketer in your life is looking at you and saying, what should we be doing about this AI thing? And that's a lot of pressure. But how should we be incorporating AI, right? It's actually kind of a dumb question. Because to me, I think of it like, imagine in 2007, asking a retailer how they should be using the internet. And it's only with the benefit of hindsight that we can now look at that and say, everything, like literally everything. The internet is going to change the way that we build products, how we manage our teams and systems internally, how we communicate with our customers, how we process payments. The internet is fundamentally going to change everything we know about business today. And I'm willing to bet that in the not-so-distant future, we will look back on AI the same way. It will continue to change everything we know about business, and probably our personal lives as well. In a lot of ways, it already has. So this is really interesting. So a few weeks ago, this report came out, ppcsurvey.com. You can go and download it yourself. One of the questions that was asked was, what is your top priority for 2024? And by and large, people responded with AI and automation. Top priority for 2024. Not super surprising to me. But what was interesting is that later in the survey, these respondents were asked about the features within Google Ads that they use the most and those that they use the least. And ironically, the tools within Google Ads that have the most AI within them are at the bottom of this list, right? Marketers still love exact match keywords. They still love all the things that you can get manual control, and they don't like using the automated AI tools. So I think this is really interesting, right? Because we're sort of at this place where our CEOs, our bosses, Wall Street is pressuring us saying, you need to figure out AI. And we're saying, we hear you. And we're going to the survey and we're saying that AI and automation is our top priority for this coming year. But at the same time, we don't often use, or we are generally unsatisfied with, the advertiser-focused AI solutions that are available to us today. So I think we have some work to do. And so today, I promise you, we're not going to talk about individual products. I don't think you're going to find a person in this room that will willingly opt into auto-applied recommendations. But by the end of today, I promise you, you'll have a different perspective on how you as a marketer can use AI to your advantage in the coming months and years. So before I go on, I want to introduce myself. I'm Patrick Gilbert. I'm the CEO at Adventure Media. Isaac Rodansky founded Adventure Media about 10 years ago. You guys probably know us originally from Isaac's best-selling Udemy course. And we've been doing this for a long time. And today you're going to meet a lot of our eclectic and irreverent and unique team members that have helped build this company and put on events like this and do all these great things. But the good and the bad thing about this industry is that it's constantly changing. And the recent explosion of generative AI is not the first time we've been forced to completely reinvent ourselves. It's also not the first time we've had an existential crisis about, hey, with this new technology, are people going to need agencies? Are people even going to need marketers? And we've been through this, and we've learned a few lessons. See, because long before generative AI came onto our plates, a lot of marketers were struggling with and were threatened by Google's automated campaigns, right? So smart bidding and dynamic creative and data-driven attribution. This was new, and it challenged the status quo, and it was scary. And it put a lot of pressure on all of us. See, like the same pressure that we all feel today to have a take on generative AI, that was the same pressure that we all felt in 2018 to have a take on smart bidding. Now, the interesting thing, though, is that the general consensus about smart bidding and the earlier automated tools was that it was bad. And this was great because it sort of gave us a pass, because we subscribed to that narrative, because new challenges, new skills, it's a scary thing. So if the rest of the world, clients, agencies, everyone's saying, hey, this automation thing is bad, we could say it's bad and we can keep doing what we want. And for a number of years, Google kept trying to get people to adopt automated tools, and nobody did. And at one point, we woke up and said, okay, maybe there's some merit to this AI thing. Maybe it's worth saying, maybe we're not as good using it because we don't really know what we're doing. So maybe let's become students, let's be optimistic and curious about this technology, learn about it, and see how it can actually benefit for us. And the benefit there was that we had a lot of leeway, we had a lot of runway time, because everyone else in the industry still didn't want to adopt. So we were allowed to sit back and start learning about this technology. And we wanted to say, okay, does this work for us even some of the time? And we found, slowly but surely, that this technology was really effective at managing ad campaigns. And so much so that I started writing about it. It started with a blog post that was published in November 2018 called Join or Die, It's Time to Embrace Google Automation. And I published this blog post. I didn't think that it would see the light of day, but somehow somebody at Google found out about it, passed it around the product team, and it wasn't long before then that they reached out and wanted to fly me around the world to teach others about automation. I guess Google was like, hey, there's one person out there that thinks that automation is good, so let's buy him some dinners and send him across the world because he's going to teach agencies and talk that it's actually good. So I did that. It was a great experience. But really, in return, what they gave me was a real under-the-hood experience, and these product folks that really helped me understand about the machine learning technology that was driving the Google Ads ecosystem at the time. And it created this safe space where I can ask all the dumb questions. And I think that was really important because I didn't study computer science or engineering. I studied marketing, right? I don't know how Bayesian machine learning works. But these people kind of gave some, explained to me I'm a 15-year-old type of conversations, and it was incredibly helpful. So I kept writing about this and series of blog posts, and eventually published a book on the topic, collected it all together, Join or Die, Digital Advertising, the Age of Automation. It was published in 2020. And it's funny, I actually had an editor that said, hey, you should change automation to AI. I said, no, you're stupid. Everyone calls it automation. They were right, in hindsight. I should have done that. But anyway, so the book is still relevant because the book is about the fundamentals of the technology that drive this platform. And those insights I would have never learned if I didn't have that safe space to learn and ask stupid questions and learn as a real student. And that's the real main takeaway that I have from this, is that as new technology comes onto our plate, whether it's AI or whatever the next thing is, to embrace it with an open mind, right? Because this time is not on our side. We don't have multiple years before Google's just going to force us into automated bidding, and that's what happened. Today, your boss, your clients, your customers are expecting you to have a narrative and an expertise in AI. And I think a lot of us feel that pressure and we jump to a conclusion and we start talking as if we really know what we're doing when we don't. And the moment you do that, you stop learning and you stop being open to new ideas and new opinions. And that's the most important thing that I want you to take away from this. Because anything worth learning, anything that has the power to change your career or your business is not something you can effectively learn in a matter of weeks or months. It's likely going to take years. So as you experiment with it and learn new things and develop a hypothesis and opinion, just keep an open mind. We're going to go through a lot of these things today, a lot of things that we've learned. We're going to go through some of the things that we've failed with AI. And I think that's a really important part of the story. So let's talk about AI. Earlier we mentioned that we've been using these AI tools for a number of years, but clearly this is very different what we've been using historically to something like ChatGPT. There are dozens of categories of AI models, and the large language models that build ChatGPT or Midjourney or any of these other tools that are extremely popular today, they're just one of them. So let's do a quick overview. Many of you are probably familiar with deep learning and neural networks. These are the kinds of machine learning models that can help you or help beat you at chess, right? Because the thing is, traditional AI models, they were really good at predictive analytics, working with existing data sets to understand trends and digesting customer data and being able to automate repetitive tasks, right? So deep learning is essentially that concept. Like think about teaching someone to play chess. There's a set of rules that you're working within. A few other examples are on the board. The Google Ads auction largely relies on Bayesian learning and Q networks, which is a different kind of machine learning model that really just optimizes itself over time as it gets new data. Think of this as like your conversion data, improving an algorithm. And then the third example, Facebook lookalike audiences use analogous algorithms, which is like cluster analysis where it like takes your customer data, understands the signals that make up this audience, and then goes out and finds a different group of people that match that same criteria. So there's a lot of different examples. Large language models are relatively new. Google released the first one. They produced the first one in 2017. And what makes LLMs unique is that they can work with new and original content as opposed to merely analyzing or categorizing existing data. And this is really why AI is now cool, and this is why the world is ready for it, because we've taken something and we've been able to expand it where there's literally no limits. You don't need the data within the system to be able to create something new, innovative, and dynamic. And as we look toward the future, I think we should expect to see more tools that combine multiple AI models into one interface, making it easy for one user to tap into different types of tools and disciplines all at once. And we've already seen some of this, and we're going to demo some of this today. So for example, ChatGPT, right? So it's a large language model. It's good at conversations, language, but it's terrible at statistical analysis. But with a little bit of technical know-how, you can get ChatGPT to plug itself into a different AI tool that can run a linear regression analysis for you. It's incredible. Think of it as if it's ChatGPT getting a computer. And once you do that, the possibilities are endless. So we understand the differences now, or we understand that there are differences in AI tools, but I think working with AI is still new to a lot of us. So how should we be thinking about this? There's a Stanford professor named Jeremy Utley who has a great answer to this. And he says, when you approach AI like an oracle or a search engine that can simply provide you an answer, it might feel like magic. And Utley's research shows that people who have this mentality actually end up underperforming. If you want to outperform, you should approach AI like a conversation partner. And this doesn't feel like magic. It feels like work. They found that teams that properly leverage generative AI and ultimately outperform their counterparts are actually less excited and less energized in the short term. Because what we're really trying to do is rewire our brains to think differently and work differently. We have to develop new skills, and that could be exhausting, and that could be scary. But it has long-term benefits. And so I think this is interesting, right? Because AI, it was like we were promised we were going to get superpowers. But what Utley's saying is, no, this isn't magic. This isn't going to make your life easier. It's time to get to work. Like those that are ready to roll up their sleeves and learn new things and challenge themselves to get better and develop new skills are the ones that are going to succeed. I think that's really interesting. So let's continue digging on this concept for a second. A few years ago, there was an engineering team at GitHub that was attempting to build an AI assistant that would help code Python. And the early results that it would spit out were either spooky or kooky. And the former CEO, Nat Friedman, talks about this and says that the results were so good, they were so unbelievably accurate that it was magic, it was spooky. But when they were wrong, they were so insanely incorrect that it was kooky. And he jokes, and he's like, it's as if it was like having like a schizophrenic like junior programmer that sometimes writes brilliant code and sometimes like writes gibberish in Japanese. But just because something isn't perfect or isn't right 100% of the time doesn't mean it can't be helpful. And so when they tested this program and they tested this product with programmers at GitHub, they found two different types of results. The first were a group of people who approached the AI tool as if it was a junior programmer sitting on the opposite side of the table of them, and they were delegating tasks to it and bossing it around. And those people would end up getting frustrated by the kooky results and ultimately stop using the tool altogether. There was a second group of people that viewed the AI tool sitting next to them on the same side of the table, working on the problem together. These are the people that ultimately kept working with the tool and ultimately started to outperform their peers that weren't working with any AI tool at all. So Friedman found this insight fascinating, and he realized that successful adoption of this tool, or really just of AI in general, is all about how you frame the product. So they called it Copilot. They literally named the product Copilot. And all the training material helped programmers understand that the Copilot AI is intended to work with you, not for you. They launched Copilot in 2021, and today it's one of the most popular programming tools on the planet. And there's a lot of people out there, in here, wherever, that at one point or another have probably written off Google Smart Bidding or broad match keywords because of kooky search terms, right? We've all seen it. We're like, what is this? The algorithm doesn't know what it's doing. It's just Google trying to spend more of my money, that whole thing. But this is a fundamental misunderstanding of the way that AI works and how you should work with AI. You should be working with it. It's not working for you. And the occasional kooky search result doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't work or it can't be effective. And I think it's funny because I think we're more critical of Google than other platforms like Meta because we don't really see the kooky results that any of these other platforms report. And we wonder why Google's getting rid of search terms and this other data. But it's out there, right? Every other platform that we work with has kooky results. Facebook has tons of them. Do you guys have any idea how many ads for DOLAH my wife has received over the last couple of months? She's a nurse. She's not a marketer. The last thing she wants in her life is another person or more people talking about AI and marketing. And she'd be like, how do I stop this? Like, this can't be, like, aren't you paying for this? I'm like, oh, I don't really know. And she's like, you can't stop this? I'm like, I have no idea. Like, I don't know. And she's like, well, can I stop seeing Isaac's face in my Instagram feed? I'm like, I know. It's gonna be over soon. So it can still be helpful, but it doesn't have to be perfect. And so that's where we're at with the current state of AI, right? Like, and I emphasize current, and I don't know where this is going. I don't have a magical oracle. Maybe I should ask ChatGPT. But I don't have a magical oracle, but I do know 3 things to be true. The first is that there are multiple categories of AI, right? LLMs is just one of them. The second is that in the future, we're likely going to see a lot of these products merge together. And we're going to use an LLM model like ChatGPT as a gateway to other AI tools. And the third thing, and this is the most important thing, is that your attitude toward AI will determine your future. It is all about framing. Because if you think of it as a junior employee that you can boss around, or if you think of it as, okay, well, now I can kick back and not work as hard, you are not going to succeed. But if we think of AI as a co-pilot, and we're willing to learn new skills and break our old habits, we can outperform. So now let's talk for a second about marketing. What does this mean for all of us? And in short, I think it's good news. I don't think we're going anywhere. And I truly believe that AI is the catalyst for the next golden age of the marketing industry. Because AI is a new tool. And when it comes to building great marketing campaigns, you can never outgrow the fundamentals. And it's been a long time since performance marketers have had to worry about things like the 4 Ps. But these things matter again. I started working in this industry about 10 years ago. And for most of my career, what we were doing was essentially day trading arbitrage. Arbitrage, in the marketing sense, is like buying undervalued traffic, buying clicks that cost less than they should cost. And that's essentially anyone that's optimized for quality score or set up campaigns in a way to get like marginal cost per click or find a keyword that your competitor is not bidding on. What you're really doing is you're trying to capture arbitrage. And that's not marketing. I'm not saying anything bad about it because we built our business on it, right? We did it for 10 plus years. But for a number of reasons, the arbitrage era is kind of over. And so now what we're really getting into is we're getting back to the fundamentals of marketing, and it actually matters again. And I think that's really exciting because while this is a huge disruption for what we do, and it's forced us to learn new things and have new skills, like I didn't get into this business to day trade arbitrage. Like I got into this business to do great marketing. And I think that this next stage of marketing is huge for all of us because what AI is doing, it is democratized great marketing, making it more affordable and accessible for everybody. And this is great news for us because for the last 100 years, the opportunity to produce great marketing was exclusively reserved to the biggest brands with the largest budgets. And that's why smaller brands, they didn't have a chance, right? If you wanted to be a smaller brand and drive profit and build a business, you needed to look at things like arbitrage, and you needed to do growth hacks or find a secret sauce or try and reinvent the Dollar Shave Club viral video. This was the only thing you had, because if you wanted to compete with real marketing and advertising, you needed like an 8-figure budget, and you needed 10 copywriters and 10 graphic designers and a full in-house video production team and media buyers and data analysts. You don't need all that anymore. AI can supplement a lot of that for you. A lot, not all of it. And this is why things are really interesting for the people in this room. Because it makes it more accessible, but it's not suddenly easy. And I would actually say that if you want to succeed in marketing today, the skills required are much more difficult than the skills required to thrive in the arbitrage era. And here's a great example. I discovered Midjourney, the text-to-image generation tool, in 2022. So I'm getting my dates mixed up. It was a Saturday morning. I discovered it. I downloaded Discord. I started making text-to-image prompts. And I thought it was really great, right? I have no background in art or photography or design, and for the first time in my life, I was able to create like artwork, or what I thought was artwork. And again, don't judge me for this, because this was an earlier version of Midjourney, and I don't know what I'm doing. But I was trying to think, okay, well, I can now make anything. It's at my fingertips. What do I want to make? So I had this image in mind of getting Kurt Vonnegut sitting on a dock on a lake in the Adirondack Mountains in upstate New York. And if you know what Kurt Vonnegut looks like, or if you've ever been to the Adirondack Mountains, it kind of looks like that, right? A little bit. And in my mind, it was like, okay, cool, like I need to create something. What can I create? And it's like, well, I vacationed there my whole life. I've read a lot of Vonnegut books sitting on a dock. Maybe I can do that. That'd be cool. Awesome. This is great. I was very happy with this. This is like a huge light bulb moment for me. I'm now creating something. This is great. So now I'm like, cool, what else can I do? This is great. So let's get Malcolm Gladwell playing chess in a kosher restaurant. And like that kind of looks like it. It's not good, but it kind of looks like it. And what's funny is it kind of became like this Mad Libs thing where I was like, okay, I'll take like a person that I know and get their likeness and put them in like a goofy scenario. And it was sort of like a joke. Because like, I'm not a real artist, right? Like this isn't real art. This isn't something like truly, like this isn't like an expression. I don't even know the art terms, but like it's not art. But anyway, I thought it was really cool, right? I was obsessed the whole weekend. Like, I didn't sleep. So I go in on a Monday morning, and I go to Isaac, and I'm like, you're not going to believe this. I discovered this thing, and you can just do anything. Just like type something in, it'll make the image. And he was like, wow, that's really cool. Like, I'm going to check this out. And he goes to his desk. And if you guys don't know Isaac, he is an artist, right? Like, he got into advertising because he was trying to sell his paintings online. And so he knows art, and he understands photography and videography and lenses and all that stuff. All these things are like really helpful when you're making Midjourney prompts. So he comes back, he knocks on my door like an hour later. And he's like, hey, like I downloaded Midjourney, I'm playing around a couple things. Check this out. I was like, you made this? He's like, yeah. I was like, what is that? He's like, oh, it's just like an idea I had. I was like, that's incredible. I was like, that's just something. He's like, yeah, it's like there's an illustrator that like I kind of said like in the style of that, and I kind of just designed it. I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna go back and play around with it a little more. So he comes back like, I don't know, an hour later, 2 hours later, knocks on my door again, and goes, oh, this is incredible. I found this like Reddit thread that like talked about like how to like do it a different way and integrate some different styles, and I created like a self-portrait. And I'm like, are you kidding? Like, and he's like, I know, it doesn't really look like me, you know, the green beanie. I was like, yeah, the green beanie. And I was like, not only is this incredible, and like really well done, but it's like good artwork in a way that like, you might need to talk to somebody. Like this is really saying a lot. There's a lot happening in this photo, but it's incredible. And this was like his first day playing around with this tool, because he's an actual artist. And then, I don't know, a week later, he comes in, and he's like, hey, I was up all night, I couldn't sleep. You know that client, that jewelry client that we have? And you know that creative brief that we're working on that we really couldn't get like a good graphic designer to like figure out what we wanted to do? Like, yeah. He's like, well, I figured out a way to take their product photography and upload it into Midjourney and then be able to layer on the AI elements on top of it. And it's like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I'm telling you, this was like a week, maybe like a week and a half after I like told him about it. He had no idea what this was. It's great, and it's concept art. So we were able to go to the client and pitch this, saying like, look, this is a design concept that we want for our creative brief, the strategy of integrating the sustainability of the products with the earth and all these different things. It's just absolutely unbelievable. And the irony of this is that the client didn't like it. They thought it was beautiful, right? They really liked it, but they were like, listen, like, it's not the direction we want to go with the brand. Like, we kind of have a different way that we want to be putting our products out there and talking about our brand. Like, okay, that's fine. And the CMO, we're in the room together, and she's describing how they think the future of the brand should look. And I see Isaac, like, at his laptop, and I hear the Discord notification going off. And he's like, yeah, we had this other idea. And he, like, turns around his laptop, and he created a whole new set of, like, prompts that looked like what she was like, yeah, exactly that. And I was like, you son of a bitch. He just did this just now. I was like, this is so classic. But again, like that's not, these aren't public, these aren't like finished ads. But you can hand this to a graphic designer and say, okay, go make this, right? Like go make something like this. And this changed everything for us, right? In a little bit, shortly, you guys are going to hear from Sherry Horowitz, who is another like Midjourney wizard. She's not an artist either. Her background is in poetry. She has a really great understanding of the English language, like in a really, really intense, amazing way. And I think this is a great example of how AI democratizes great marketing. Because you have one person, Isaac, who has a background in art and photography, and you have another person, Sherry, who has a background in poetry. Neither of these people are classically trained graphic designers, and both of them now have the ability to produce incredible artwork, advertisements, whatever it might be. And so I think whether you're using AI for creatives, or for writing, or for data analysis, or for research, or really anything, those of you that already have a background in these areas, you're at a significant advantage, right? Like I think like if Isaac and I spent 1,000 hours each trying to learn Midjourney, he would be way ahead of me. And I think that's good. I think that's awesome, because those skills should matter. And they do. And that's good news for us marketers. Because your attitude toward AI will determine your success in the future. If you approach this technology with curiosity and optimism, and you figure out how to layer on top great marketing skills or writing skills or analysis skills on top of it, then you have a lot to be excited about. And here's something I've been thinking about a lot. If you want this technology to make you better, but what you really want is something to make your life easier, you're going to produce below average work. And that's the kind of mentality that actually makes you susceptible to being replaced by AI. But in that case, like, you're not really being replaced by AI. You're going to be replaced by another marketer who sees the AI revolution as an opportunity to roll up your sleeves and get to work. And I think we're just getting started. Let's get to work. Thank you.